When darkness falls and the storm clouds gather, when the fiery trials threaten to leave nothing but ashes, the real question in life is not why do the righteous suffer, but how should the righteous suffer? Well, we're in round 2 of Job's discussions with his comforters. Last time we looked at Eliphaz's second attack, and now we're going to look at Bildad's second attack and Job's response. We're only going to look at 2 chapters, so we're just going to read a little, talk a little as we make our way through it. So, chapter 18, verse 1, Then answered Bildad the Shuhite and said, How long will it be ere ye make an end of words? Mark, and afterwards we will speak. Shut up and listen to what we have to say to you. I mean,
Yep, basically.
It's kind of bold.
yeah, it is. It's just, we don't want to hear what you have to say. What you need to do is
Right.
just
Listen.
shut your mouth, and we'll set you straight if you'll let us. We're way past comfort.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, comfort went out the window a while back.
And respect and I just keep in these words, I see a deep, like an underlying animosity toward Job. And God talked about his righteousness. God talked about his, I believe it talks about his wealth. And I just have a feeling these guys envied him.
I
It's
agree.
like you just see that.
I don't think it's an underlying animosity.
Yeah, well, now it's not.
This is blatant.
But what I'm talking about is this experience.
Yeah.
There's probably some envy. There's probably some deep-seated animosity, probably because of, it's just the flesh. He's got what we want.
I agree. That's what I see.
Yeah, in verse 3 he says, Wherefore are we counted as beasts and reputed vile in your sight? It's interesting that Bildad is going to take the victim role right here.
Yep, exactly.
I mean, Job's outnumbered. He's been through all this devastation. And he's been insulted and falsely accused over and over again. And they're like, I can't believe you're going to act like we're monsters attacking you.
When Job never pointed fingers at them or said, all he just said is, you guys are miserable comforters. But he didn't say they were beasts. He didn't point at their life. He's just trying to figure his situation out.
Right.
Yeah, the thing that I see that just comes up over and over again, and I was thinking about this as I read this, and was listening to someone teach on it, feelings. And he mentioned that, when we're looking at Job, we need to remember that we're looking at poetry. And poetry is about feelings. The whole purpose of it is to convey feelings. And we got to be careful that we don't get too bogged down and try to figure things out too deeply, because what we're reading is individuals expressing emotion in grave detail, and there's no lack of feelings in this group. I mean, obviously Job has his feelings, but it's interesting. Job shares what he's feeling, and from that point on, these guys pile on. Job doesn't receive it, and now they've got their feelings hurt.
Yeah, they thought they were coming with all the answers. How dare he not listen to us?
I've gotten my feelings hurt before trying to help somebody. Why?
Yeah, that's a good question. We all have, right?
But why? Why would So obviously, this person has an issue or a problem, or a potential problem. I'm coming along. I'm going to try to help if I can. I share whatever it is that I share. They don't receive it, they don't like it, they throw it in file 13, whatever, or they lash back. Now why do I have my feelings hurt? Why don't I just say, you know what? I shared it. There it is. I'm going about my business.
It's like what Christ said when you go into towns and share the gospel, they're not willing to receive it, shake the dust off.
Shake it off. Just shake it off and keep going. I've done my part. It feels like these guys have made up, they're not going to stop
Until he
until
agrees.
Job cries uncle.
Yeah.
They're just going to badger.
Well, it's because they're not there to help. They're there to get some type of gratification, the word gratification
Right.
of their own by, and like we go all the way back to the theology, they want an approval or a verification that their theology is correct.
And the only thing that's going to do that is if Job says, you guys are right.
Yep, that's what they're
This
waiting
is
for.
because of my sin. I need to repent, and everything will be back the way that it's
And
supposed to
at
be.
this point, they're not wanting him to repent to God, they're wanting him to repent to
To
them.
them,
Right.
yeah. Right, and until he does, then they're not going to be justified, right? And that's what they really want, like you said. They want to be justified in their own experiences and outcomes in their own life, things that they've had, and they say, well, this is because I'd done something wrong. Well, Job hasn't done that.
And what we're stumbling on is another shade of religion.
Yeah, well, and I can remember going to people, whether they're sick in the hospital or dealing with something terrible, and even being apprehensive about it myself, because there's the human side of me that's going, I would hate to think this was happening to me. And I don't really know how to process it myself, because it's terrifying. I mean, you're looking at the situation going, this is awful, and I don't even know. So I'm sure there's part of that going on with these guys. Because of their theology, they're like, if we can't get him to confess, we don't really know what to do.
Yeah, they need
With
some type
this.
of assurance that they're not going to find themselves in this place that squares with their
And I'm
their
wondering in the
theology.
back of their head if there's not that fear. You know, like when you go into the hospital to visit somebody and you walk up to the door and they're like, you know, be sure to put on protective, and you're going, what do they got? You know, so.
And
so-
how do I not get
Right,
it?
so they've got this, I wonder if in the back of their mind they're thinking, if we can't convince Job that we're right, and if by small chance we're wrong, then he's a constant reminder that this could happen to any one of us at any moment. And the thought of that is
Their brain
probably
just can't take that. Can't
Yeah.
take it.
Yeah, this is Job's condition, his situation is a test of their theology,
Yes.
and it's about to break.
Yeah, so now in verse 4, he turns around and says, this is all your fault. He teareth himself in his anger. We're not attacking you. We're not monsters. We're not beasts. Verse 3, you're the one tearing yourself apart, he says, because of your anger. Shall the earth be forsaken for thee, and shall the rock be removed out of his place? It's like Bildad saying, because remember, he's the traditionalist. He's the one that was talking about the past. He's like, dude, there are unchangeable laws, and they're not going to change for you. This is cause and effect, bro.
Deal with it.
That's exactly right. Yeah. And then he spends the rest of the chapter describing what happens to wicked people, obviously implying that Job is one of them. He says, yea, the light of the wicked shall be put out, and the spark of his fire shall not shine. The light shall be dark in his tabernacle, and his candle shall be put out with him. The steps of his strength shall be straitened, and his own counsel shall cast him down. For he is cast into a net by his own feet, and he walketh upon a snare. The gin shall take him by the heel, and a robber shall prevail against him. The snare is laid for him in the ground, and a trap for him in the way. He uses 6 different synonyms to describe being trapped. He's like, if you're wicked, it's going to get you. And obviously that's what's happened.
Wow.
And now he's using something that Job said in chapter 16. He says, terrors shall make him afraid on every side and shall drive him to his feet. His strength shall be hunger bitten, and destruction shall be ready at his side. It shall devour the strength of his skin. Even the firstborn of death shall devour his strength. So here's Job sitting there with boils from head to toe.
Having lost his children.
Right, and they're just pointing out all of these things. His confidence shall be rooted out of his tabernacle, and it shall bring him to the king of terrors. It shall dwell in his tabernacle because it is none of his. Brimstone shall be scattered upon his habitation. His roots shall be dried up beneath, and above shall his branch be cut off. His remembrance shall perish from the earth, and he shall have no name in the street. He shall be driven from light into darkness and chased out of the world. He shall neither have son nor nephew among his people, nor any remaining in his dwellings. They that come after him shall be astonished at his day, as they that went before were affrighted. Surely such are the dwellings of the wicked, and this is the place of him that knoweth not God.
Job, you wicked man, it's because you
don't
don't know
even
God.
You don't even know God.
Yeah.
You don't even know God.
Wow.
When God himself at the beginning of the book says, hey, have you considered my servant Job? There's none like him. He fears God. He eschews evil.
But again, these guys aren't privy to that. So they're looking, much like most of the world even today is, at a situation and saying, what's the cause? We don't know what it is. Well, let's make up one, right? So we don't know what it really is. Time for fake news. Time for our own narrative,
Right.
if you will. And something we can get behind. And this is a place where Job's saying, I'm in a bad spot. And man, I just wish I had some good friends. Because these guys,
Yeah.
they're the worst. They're the worst.
Well, and it's that theology, that ideology, that good things happen to good people, bad things happen to bad people. You said it a time or two before about, and maybe it was a different discussion about how it's easier to rely on that that premise that if you're bad, bad things are going to happen to you. If you're good, good things are going to happen to you. Than it is to trust that the wind blows where it wills.
Yeah.
Where it will. No one knows from where it comes or where it goes. So is everyone that's born of the Spirit. That you have to be constantly surrendered, and you have to be constantly waiting and listening and but the other way, it's just easy. You go about your life. If good things are happening to you, you're good. If bad things are happening to you, you're bad. But that theology doesn't hold water.
And there is an element of truth to that. When you read through the scripture, you reap what you sow. I mean, there is an element to consequences of what we do. But when it's taken to the extreme, like we're dealing with here, the problem with it is when it's taken to that extreme, man is in control.
That's it. That's what I was trying to say. It's man in control.
Because if I do this, this, and this, then I'm guaranteed to get this answer in the equation. But when this doesn't equal, and that's what they're dealing with
And
right now.
that's when people's brains short out. And I think that's why you see a lot of people walk away from faith, because it didn't square up with.
This is a good point on both. So we see this on both sides of the equation. So like you just said, there are people who come into the church or come into the faith, so to speak. They attempt to serve the Lord. They hear this type of theology at whatever level it is, and then life takes a crazy turn, and they think God failed them. Well, this didn't work. Preacher said, if I do this, this, and this, if I show up to church, if I pay my tithes, if I do whatever, this is not going to happen. My kid's not going to be like this. This is not going to happen. I'm not going to lose my job. I'm not going to get sick, blah, 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 blah. And so they walk away. And then you have the believer that doesn't walk away, but they fake it. They walk into the church and they'll never share with another brother or sister what they're going through because they're afraid of being in Job's situation. If they're really struggling with something or life has taken a crazy turn.
Afraid of being in Job's situation with his friends.
Yes, absolutely. They're going to be ostracized by the people in the church.
That does happen. It will
And so you
happen.
have the whole, yes, bless God, I'm so
I'm
good.
so
I'm
blessed.
too blessed to be stressed, and so they walk in, and instead of the church being a hospital, like Christ intended it, where we can be open and honest, confess your faults one to another, pray one for another that you may be healed, there's a bunch of hypocrisy in the church, and a lot of it is because of this type of
Because of
thinking.
fear.
You know, you have parents who did everything they were supposed to do, and their child still walked away from the Lord and is living out in the world. And it's easy for someone to look at them and go, oh, well, train up a child the way he should go. When he's old, he won't depart. And just smack them upside the head with the scripture. It happens all the time.
It does. You're right.
Oh, if
You're
you're still sick, God didn't heal Granny because you guys didn't have enough faith. That's the kind of stuff that's.
A big mentality in the
It
church.
really is. It's crazy how after so many hundreds of years, and we have what none of these four guys have.
Right.
We do, and we still find this kind of stuff in the church.
Yeah.
It's wild. So, 19, then answered Job and said, how long will you vex my soul and break me in pieces with words? These 10 times have ye reproached me. He says, ye are not ashamed that ye make yourselves strange to me. So Job's been sitting back keeping score. Oh, that's one. Oh, that's two.
Well, he's sitting down in the dust, scraping away at his boils, no doubt, every now and again, leaning over, like you said, and just drawing a tick mark. Okay, I'll remember this.
It's like presidential debates. We've seen them where they're standing up at their podium. I guess they all get a sheet of paper and a Sharpie or whatever.
Yeah, you see them right
And
now.
so one of them's just, and he's over there, yep, I'm gonna get back. I'm getting ready to answer back, But, we say, sticks and stones, break my bones, words will never hurt me, blah, blah, blah. They do hurt.
Words do hurt.
They really do. Especially, like Job is saying, you guys should be ashamed of the way you're talking to me. And it reminds me, I wrote down a reference here in Proverbs 18:19. When Job is sitting here saying what he's saying. Proverbs 18:19 says, a brother offended is harder to be won than a strong city, and their contentions are like the bars of a castle. I've heard people call it church hurt. When someone hurts you that you should be able to trust, that's a hard pill to swallow. When the world hurts you, or you expect it. You don't like it, it still hurts. But Job's like, you guys, are you not ashamed of what you're beating me down with words? And you're treating me, he says, let's see, are you not ashamed that ye make yourselves strange to me?
Right. I don't even know you.
You're creating a breach
Right.
in our relationship. There's a divide happening, and you don't even act like that's a problem.
Yeah, a couple of things that I hear, and that is it's as if they're speaking to him like they don't know him.
Yeah.
Because your friends come to you and you don't have any guard up. And
You shouldn't,
He's
right.
basically getting pounded with like you're saying, out in the world, you would expect someone in the world to say something about
Right.
you, but because they don't know you, so they're operating off of preconceived notions with it. These guys supposedly knew Job. So Job's guard is down, and they're hitting him with his guard down. It's like just standing there and getting hit in the body.
That's a good point, because you are on guard out there, so you kind of are bracing for impact. But in this scenario, you shouldn't be,
Yeah,
so you get caught completely.
I'm very visual in my imagination, right? So I read stuff like this and I start watching it like a TV show. And I just picture Job sitting there. And he's all alone. He's lost everything. And then his friends show up and they don't say anything.
That had to be some relief.
And exactly what I'm
At
saying.
that
They
moment, it
sit
had to
down and
be
he's probably,
encouraging.
I'm not alone in this. And then they start beating him up.
And then he wishes he was.
Yeah, and then they double team him and triple team him. And then they don't stop. Now they're doing it again.
And the blows are getting harder.
Harder and harder.
Yeah, it
He
is.
has to say, well, you know what? I was better off before you guys ever showed up. You guys are not friends. You are, like you said, strange.
Yeah.
You're strangers
Yeah.
to me because a friend wouldn't do this.
Yeah, this is like the fourth time so far that he's kind of made a similar type, miserable, I think you mentioned miserable comforters, or maybe you said it. So there's been like 3 or 4 different times where he said, I thought you guys were friends. I can remember one time here at the Porch, somebody made a comment to me one day when we were having service, and it just rubbed me the wrong way, and it hurt my feelings.
Sorry.
No, it wasn't you.
Did you say feelings?
Yeah, it had feelings. I got those. And a couple days went by, and one day Cindy was like, what's wrong with you? And so I finally just kind of fessed up and said, well, so-and-so said such and such and such. And she says, you know him. And it just totally caught me off guard when that was her response. She's like, Gordon, you know him. I'm like, what do you mean? She said, he didn't mean anything by that, because you know him. Because you know him, you know that his intention for that
Yeah.
wasn't. So here's what crazy thing. What ended up happening, ended up going to him and saying, I owe you an apology. And he was like, what are you talking about? He didn't know what was going on. I said, well, you said such and such, and I took it the wrong way. And, he obviously said, I didn't mean any. I said, I know you didn't. But this is kind of where Job's at. He's expecting, because I know you guys, and because you know more than you, because you made that remark, they know him. Because they know him, they shouldn't be treating him like they're talking to someone out there,
But they're getting a dose of reality, or say Job's getting a dose of reality about his friends.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
it's now he knows whose friends are.
Right. In verse 4, he says, and be it indeed that I have erred, mine error remaineth with myself. He's like, guys, even if you're right, it ain't none of your business.
Right. What's it to you?
What's it to this is my problem. Why are you guys worried about it? Even if I am the man you're calling me, and even if this is happening because of that, so what? But it ain't so what for
No,
them.
it's not so what for them.
If indeed ye will magnify yourselves against me and plead against me my reproach, know now that God hath overthrown me and hath compassed me with his net. Behold, I cry out of wrong, but I am not heard. I cry aloud, but there is no judgment. He hath fenced up my way that I cannot pass, and he hath set darkness in my paths. I mean, he very descriptive
Yeah.
in what he's feeling. He feels like, he says, God has put up a roadblock. I can't go forward.
Yeah.
My life just stopped right here. And then he turned the lights out on me. And I'm in the dark. He's like, I'm crying out, but I don't get an answer. I don't understand what's going on. I know it's not what you guys are saying, but at the same time, I can't tell you why it is, other than God's doing this to me. And I thought about this. There's been a lot of times in my life I felt in the dark.
Oh, yeah.
And that's difficult, because there's that whole control thing. When you can put all of it in a pretty little equation, and you know you're going to get this answer.
Yep, that's going to come
And
out.
you put it all in, and it doesn't work out, the problem doesn't work out. That's where, if that's your theology.
Yeah,
And I've experienced things in my life where I thought I thought I had my theology figured out, and then life smacks you between the eyes, and then you're like, oh, wait a minute, maybe that's not exactly how it works.
Yeah, I see him saying in verse 5, if indeed you'll magnify yourselves against me and plead against me my reproach, know that God has overthrown me, has compassed me with his net. It's kind of like, you guys, God, I hear what you're saying, but it's worse for me with God. So what you're telling me almost is kind of like, it's nothing compared to
Yeah.
feeling like God has left me.
Yeah.
You know, so almost like, just don't waste your breath. You know, you're not hurting me any more than I'm hurt.
Yeah. He hath stripped me of my glory and taken the crown from my head. What? That's just,
That's heavy.
it is, because Job was this great guy. He had it going on.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, he was the poster child, and God just, or allowed Satan to just take it away.
You
And
know
now
what
he
that's
has
called in
nothing.
financial terms? A market correction.
Yeah.
Job's thinking his value is up here. God's like, well, let me just kind of take Job's value off of himself. It's shaking the nonsense.
It is.
You know.
It is shaking the nonsense, because all of this stuff, if this stuff remained in his life, his theology would have never changed.
It would
Because
remain
all
a
of this
skewed
stuff is
theology.
proof that his theology is correct.
Hmm.
To his knowledge, his life didn't change, but everything went away.
Yeah.
And so now he doesn't have those reinforcements that were all over him saying, man, I serve God and he's blessed me. I serve God and he's blessed me. And now I serve God, where are the blessings?
Right. Goes from being life of the party, throwing the big celebrations and the feasts, to I've got nothing left but a pity party. Because I've got nothing.
Right. And so on a micro scale, nothing like what Job's experiencing. It's like when we feel God's close. You know, you have several months of just, you come into worship and you just sense his presence is just right there.
And then 2020 hits.
But then you just wake up one day and it just seems like he's a billion trillion miles away. And he's left you on a deserted planet. That's when your theology's tested. That's where I will never leave you nor forsake you really comes into play. Do I believe that? It's easy to believe that when I feel God's presence right there. But when I don't feel him anymore, is he still there? His word declares he is, and
In
so.
the world, you'll find much tribulation. Be of good cheer, for I've overcome the world.
And so he is. I love that phrase. He's shaken the nonsense.
Yeah,
out
he's
of his
emptying
life.
Job of Job. That one line right there just says it about the crown in verse 9.
Verse 9,
He
yeah.
stripped me of my glory and taken the crown of my glory. He saw his life, and it was a glorious life.
Mhm.
And then this crown, he has his position in life.
He's been defamed and dethroned. But it's like Isaiah 6, where Isaiah says, in the year that King Uzziah died, I saw the Lord high and lifted up. There are times where, and it's happened to me, God has to move something out of your life for you to really see him
Yeah.
in the way that you need to see him. Otherwise, that thing or that person eclipses that. And that's what God's doing.
He's going to get there.
So yeah, but first it was his glory and his crown. Now it's his circumstances without those.
Right.
Yeah.
So he goes from one extreme to the other.
Yeah.
And God's trying to pull him back to the middle.
Verse 10, he says, he hath destroyed me on every side, and I am gone. And I immediately thought of what John says. He must increase.
Yeah.
I must decrease. Job thinks this is awful. I'm gone. I am no more.
But that's good.
Yes,
That's a good
that
thing.
is a good thing.
Get me out of the way.
So when people say, I'm at the end of myself,
Good.
you're in a good
You're in
place.
the beginning of where
No,
you
I'm
need to
not.
be.
This is awful. Nope, you're in a good place. He says, and mine hope hath he removed like a tree. But his hope was in the wrong places.
That's right. His hope,
Yes,
not his hope in the Lord.
right. He hath also kindled his wrath against me, and he counteth me unto him as one of his enemies. His troops come together and raise up their way against me and encamp round about my tabernacle. He's describing a besieged city. He's like, God has just surrounded me and he has taken
And there's nowhere to
me
go.
out. No.
No escape.
There's no escape.
It's only part right. Satan's the one that surrounded him. But,
Right.
Absolutely.
But there's a purpose.
Verse 13, he says, He hath put my brethren far from me, and mine acquaintance are verily estranged from me. My kinfolk have failed, and my familiar friends have forgotten me. They that dwell in mine house, and my maids count me for a stranger. I am an alien in their sight. I called my servant, and he gave me no answer. I entreated him with my mouth. My breath is strange to my wife, though I entreated for the children's sake of mine own body. Yea, young children despise me. I arose, and they spake against me. All my inward friends abhorred me. And they whom I love have turned against me.
It was like you said, he's looking around, and anybody that he could have placed trust or hope or relied on in this moment of his life, they don't want anything to do with him. They're nowhere to be found. And he's looking at it as a bad thing, but he's right where he needs to be.
But you know, it's these people probably looked at Job as a model.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is
These
what you
people
aspire
probably,
to be.
yeah, everybody looked at Job and said,
Well, they told him that.
you know, all these
What was
young
it,
people,
chapter 2 or
yeah, all
3?
these young people are probably thinking, man, if I keep serving God and doing the right thing, one day I'm going to be like Job.
Mm-hmm.
And now they're saying, I don't want to be like Job. I don't want nothing
Please,
to do
God.
with. And I just don't. I think everyone around Job is struggling in their faith.
Mm-hmm.
They don't know, and we still do, right? I mean, what do you do with suffering?
Right.
How do you explain it? Why, why do bad things happen to good people? We still wrestle with this whole thing.
Yeah.
Why didn't God heal Granny, and why did Pastor so and so get cancer? We struggle with that, and I think a lot of people look at godly Granny or Pastor so and so and think, well, if this can happen to him or her, I'm vulnerable. I'm not safe. There's no safe place for me, based on what they believe.
Right. And that's partly true, because you can't trust in those things.
Absolutely.
They're not promised.
But when that reality hits, it is terrifying unless God is there
Unless God is there. That's
to
the missing
fill
piece.
that vacuum, to fill that void. And you trust in Him, and you realize, I don't even have to have any of this,
Yeah. and
as
if
long
you-
as I have Him.
You look at situations like this, I mean, and there's a couple of things that are popping into my head as we're talking, is that the majority of the time that we live, unless we have something chronic or unless we're in that, and God has us all in different places,
Mm-hmm.
it's peaceful in this sense. We're not experiencing these bad things.
Right.
So in the few times that we do, it's Lord, what you say, why have you forgotten me forever?
Yeah.
But I look at the other thing, I look at this and I see Christ, my God, why hast
Why
thou
have you
forsaken?
forsaken me?
You know,
Surrounded by Roman
Right.
soldiers.
What he had experienced.
stripped of his, all of these things.
I see a type of Christ in this.
Which, that's a good point, because we look at Job and go, oh my, that's as worst as it can get. Actually, no.
No.
In this sense, Job is just a type
Mhm.
of the worst
Mhm.
it can get, because on the cross, that's
Yeah.
the worst it can get.
Yes.
Which is really cool, because now, instead of us on this side of Job and the cross, we don't have to do what all of these people who have forsaken Job. I don't know what to do with Job, so I'm just going to avoid him. I know he's calling me, but I'm not going in that room, because just looking at him,
Mhm.
I can now look at the cross and realize there's a solution
Yeah, that's great.
to
That's
where
good.
Job is.
Yeah.
I don't have to fear the Job scenario because I have the Jesus scenario.
Yeah. And Jesus, his sacrifice was restorative for us. It restored us. So that we don't have to fear, regardless of what the circumstance is. You know, Paul and Silas, they're chained to a Roman guard, they're in a jail, and they're singing praises. That is the peace that passes all understanding.
And what the cross does, it eliminates this entire debate. Because my righteousness is in him. Therefore, he remains righteous.
Right.
Therefore, my righteousness is secure.
Yeah.
So I don't have to spend my life when bad things happen wondering, okay, what went wrong in the equation? It has nothing to do, the equation is solid.
Yeah.
That's paid in full. Yeah, that's done. Then it's just a matter of not why, but what. What
Yeah.
is God trying to do
Right.
with this in my life or in the life
Learning
of
and
someone
getting
else?
closer and
Right.
walking with him. And yeah.
I was talking with you about this earlier. This is pretty much the scenario I was dealing with today in ministering to a family who just lost the mother of the family to COVID this morning. And in ministering to them, I'm hearing this over and over and over again. Why her? Why would God do this? Why not me? You know, all this. What is the reason?
Why did he let her suffer for a month?
Right. Over and over and over again. Just why? Give me the answer. And I had to keep reassuring. There's no answer that you're going to find. Just stop looking at that. Look at this. She's with Jesus now.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean,
So there's celebration in that. Let's take your eyes off the situation and look at the Savior. Because she's with him now.
Yeah.
And you can go round and round.
Well, it is a round and round.
And it really is, because you've got nowhere to go.
That's right.
You're just going to go round and round like a dog chasing its tail
Yeah.
until you realize that what I'm chasing is not to be found here
Not
unless
to-
I look to the cross.
and that's where I was when I got saved. It was like I've tried everything and I've wrecked everything. You know what I mean? And it was like the Lord's like, well, give me a try. And I'm like, all right, I'm coming after you.
Yeah.
I'm going to wreck you too. I was like, come on,
Yeah, I can take it.
I'll be all right.
Verse 20 says, my bones cleave to my skin and to my flesh, and I am escaped with the skin of my teeth.
Whew, barely making it.
So there's the origin of that saying. You know,
Yep.
we talk about that
funny.
small margin of it, you know, by a small margin, it's by the skin of my teeth. And then he cries out in verse 21, have pity upon me, O ye my friends, for the hand of God hath touched me. Man, and they don't hear this.
Right.
We know that it's just going to keep going. He's like, guys, have some pity on me. Wow. And then he says this, I love this. Oh, that my words were now written. Oh, that they were printed in a book.
He didn't know.
Did we skip verse 22?
Yeah, we skipped 22.
Oh, sorry. Oh, yeah, he says, why do ye persecute me as God and are not satisfied with my flesh? Oh, that my words were now written. Oh, that they were printed in a book, that they were graven with an iron pen and lead in the rock forever.
He didn't even know. He got his wish. We're reading it.
Yeah.
That's pretty strong.
Yeah.
Because yeah, it is written in a book and it is read forever. You
The
know,
book.
The book.
Yeah.
Which reminds me of when Jesus says about, I think it's about Mary breaking the alabaster flask. He
Yeah.
says that this is,
This will be remembered
Remembered.
as, from now as far as the gospel is preached.
Divine.
This will be remembered as a
and it is,
memorial for her.
and it is.
Sure is. Sure is. Which reminds us again, and we've talked about this in the past, everything that we're experiencing is bigger than we realize,
Yes.
and it's eternal. And what Job is, he's crying out for something lasting because everything that he found comfort in and solace
Has
in
been
is
shaken away.
diminished.
Dissolved.
And he's like, I
crumbled.
need something lasting. if my words could just be, be remembered, and here's why.
This is where
why-
it gets good.
Yeah, this is why he wants his words to be remembered, because he's shaken, but he still has his faith. He says, "For I know that my Redeemer liveth, and that he shall stand at the latter day upon the earth." This is long before Paul ever had any kind of revelation, before, I know my Redeemer lives, and I know he is going to stand on this earth in the latter days.
This is where we see that shift, where the hope is not in him,
Right, yeah.
but the hope is in him.
And then he says, "And though after my skin worms destroy this body, yet in my flesh shall I see God, whom I shall see for myself, and mine eyes shall behold, and not another, though my reins be consumed within me."
If I die, I die. I've got hope.
And we've seen this before. We've seen Job being just overwhelmed with the temporal, the present. And the sorrows and all the feelings that come with that, and the emotion just almost drowned him. And he swims up and he takes another gasp of eternal air,
I like that.
and it's taking him further into eternity.
Yeah.
He has these moments, and he's breaking into this place where his life probably wasn't lived before now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He loved God, he feared God. We know that God himself said so. But his relationship with the Lord was kind of in the here and now,
It
based
was
on cause and
Surface.
effect.
Surface, it
Yes.
wasn't deep.
But now that the nonsense
He's
is
going
being
in
shaken away,
He's being sharpened.
he's being forced in this desperate place to lay hold on eternal life, as Paul tells Timothy. And so, I can look back over the bad times in my life, and I can see how God used those times for this, to deepen my faith, to shift my comfort, to the Lord.
To make us loose our grasp on the worldly things and grab more onto him.
Yeah. Yeah, because Job is running out of things to cling to. He doesn't have, everybody that's supposed to love and be with him is gone. They don't have anything to do with him. He's lost his health. He's lost his wealth. He's struggling with everything that he thought was figured out, and now the equation's not working.
Yep. God's removing all the idols.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're right.
And each time he's placed in the fire, more and more.
Yeah.
It's not supposed to
Starts to
be there,
shine.
can be taken away.
That
taken
precious
away.
metal
Yes.
starts to shine, and the dross or the impurities are burned away.
So good.
And knowing that my Redeemer lives and that he shall stand at the latter day upon the earth is is prophetic. It's a
Oh, yeah.
prophecy.
Oh, yes, it is.
Because in that latter day, I looked that up, that means the hindmost or that furthest, that
Yeah.
latest day. Again,
The
another
last
prophecy.
days.
We're in the last days.
Yeah, because, and at this point, Job's grasping onto a truth that we know in the scripture. Even though everything, you read Habakkuk gets to that place at the end. He says, though there's no fig tree on the vine, there's no crop, I'm still going to trust the Lord. So he's saying, this may never be corrected in my life until
Yeah.
the very end. But I'm convinced somehow, some way, God, who I know to be just,
My Redeemer,
my Redeemer,
another prophetic.
Oh, yes.
he's,
He redeems.
Mike, he's going to make this right.
Yeah. Because that language,
Yeah.
that's the first time you see that, I mean, chronologically.
Mm-hmm.
And that's pretty early. But I think Job is thought to be the book before Genesis was actually written. But in the beginning,
Mm-hmm.
the prophecy is, that the seed of the woman,
Yep.
his heel will be bruised by the serpent, but he'll crush the serpent's head. And then you put that up with my Redeemer. He's going to stand on the earth in the latter days.
Well,
Yeah, so Job is at this place now where he's forced to cry out to the only one that can help him.
That is right. And the beautiful thing about that is, he can sense him. He doesn't, but like we
I've
said,
heard of you. We're going to get there. He
God's
says, I've
there.
heard of you before.
God's just there.
Yeah.
The
So where his
whole
friends
time.
are concentrating on what they can see and
Right.
putting their faith in that.
Yeah.
The friend that sticks closer than a brother,
He's right there.
right there.
That's right.
Yeah. So after this, after Job says this, verse 28, he says, but ye should say, why persecute we him, seeing that the root of the matter is found in me? Be ye afraid of the sword, for wrath bringeth the punishments of the sword, that ye may know there is a judgment. Job's like, you know what, guys? There's coming a final judgment. You guys need to be worried about that instead of
Another
worried about me
prophetic.
right now. And I
Here's
forget-
the mirror. You guys should look in it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think it's in Romans 14. It might be in Corinthians. It's one of those where Paul is talking about judging our brother. And he says, know ye not that we shall all stand
Yeah.
before the judgment seat of Christ? So
Right.
he tempers,
We're gonna
he
judge
tempers
angels.
that judgment for my brother with remembering, oh, wait a minute, I'm going to be judged too. I might want to, keep that in perspective.
Right.
So again, I'm very visual. I can picture these guys who don't understand Job at all, and only what they're wanting to say it can be the truth. And now he's talking about my Redeemer. Can you just imagine the look on their faces now? They really don't understand what Job's
We'll
about.
find that out in the
But
next
we're
chapter.
gonna get there.
Yeah. Wow. Good stuff.
It's and it's called the juxtaposition or the side by side of his one friend that's talking all this poetry, this nonsense, and then Job's talking the real thing, the actual God. It's like when the Lord says to Peter, "Flesh and blood has not revealed this to you." It's God that has put these words and these utterances in Job's mouth.
Right. Yeah, and they think they have God all figured out. They got God in a box.
Yeah.
They've solved the equation. And Job is starting to catch glimpses
Yeah.
of something they know nothing of.
Right.
And they can't know anything of it because of their equations.
What a great transition.
And he's at a place now where it doesn't add up. And so he's crying out to someone that he knows more than the equation.
Well, and again, and this is the last thing I'll say.
It doesn't add up, so
Doesn't
I
know
need
what
somebody
pushes
smarter than me out there.
That's really good because he knows there's something beyond. So here's the deal. That theology, it's not God in a box, it's a God in a box. They have a God in a box.
They're good.
And it's failing. He's being pushed outside of the box.
Which is the
The God.
best thing that could possibly happen to him.
Yep.
Yep.
That's it. And it happens to us too.
Yep.
We need to embrace it.
So when you're in the dark and you can't figure it out, there's a friend that sticks closer than a brother, and he's trying to get you to see him instead of everything else. Catch you guys next time. God bless.